In a world that never stops screaming for attention, we often mistake volume for authority and noise for influence, assuming that the loudest person wins. We live in a constant state of vocal competition, where everyone is desperate to be heard, yet very few people are actually listening to each other. But in the midst of this chaotic storm of words, there is a different kind of strength that often goes unnoticed until it is finally felt. Have you ever wondered why the quietest person in the room is often the one who commands the most respect and holds the most genuine power? Silence is not the absence of thought, it is the presence of focus. It is a shield that protects the mind from the influence of others. On the surface, the ocean is loud and turbulent, filled with crashing waves and white foam that disappears as quickly as it appears for everyone to see. But deep beneath the surface, there is an incredible pressure and a vast, silent power that moves the entire world without making a single sound today. This is the essence of true authority. It does not need to shout to be recognized. It exists in the quiet confidence of knowing oneself. When you choose to be silent, you are not retreating, you are accumulating energy and observing the field of play before you make your move. The talker pours their energy out into the world, while the listener gathers it in. Silence is a strategic advantage that most people simply throw away. To understand this power, we must look inside the human brain. Science reveals that silence is actually a high-performance state for our neural pathways. When we are triggered or pressured to speak, our amygdala takes over. This is the part of the brain responsible for the fight or flight survival response. In this state, our words are impulsive and emotional. We say things we regret because our brain is focused on defense rather than on logic. But when we intentionally pause and embrace silence, the amygdala cools down. We shift our neural activity toward the prefrontal cortex, the seat of complex reasoning. This allows us to process information on multiple levels. We stop reacting to the noise and start analyzing the underlying patterns of the situation around us. Silence acts like a filter. It clears the mental clutter, allowing the brain to categorize information efficiently and prepare for a much more calculated response. By remaining quiet, you are essentially giving your brain the processing power it needs to see the chess moves that others are completely blind to. Quiet observation builds mental density. Every second you spend listening is a second you spend learning something that the talker is too busy to notice. The brain of a quiet person is a reservoir of untapped potential. When they finally do speak, their words carry the weight of total mental alignment. Silence grants you the gift of detail. You notice the tremor in someone's voice or the hesitation in their eyes that reveals their true intentions. This is where true power begins, the absolute control over your own internal state regardless of the external chaos that is happening around you right now. You become an observer of the world rather than its victim. You are the eye of the storm, perfectly still while everything else rotates around you. In silence, you build your inner architecture. You define who you are without the interference of public opinion or the pressure to perform for others. This wisdom is not new. Throughout history, the most powerful leaders have understood that silence is both a protective shield and a devastatingly effective weapon. In these halls of knowledge, we find the records of men and women who ruled empires not by shouting, but by the weight of their presence. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, practiced stoicism. He knew that the only thing he truly controlled was his mind and his choice to remain silent. Modern leaders often use the same tactic. They allow others to speak first, gathering all the information before delivering a single, decisive and final judgment. Silence creates a psychological vacuum. People are naturally uncomfortable with it, and in their hurry to fill it, they often reveal their hidden cards. When you are silent, you force the other person to confront themselves. You become a mirror, reflecting their own insecurities and lack of self-control back. The more they talk, the more power they lose. They are trying to convince you, but in reality, they are only trying to convince themselves. True authority is found in the ability to wait. It is the refusal to be baited into an emotional reaction by those who want control. Consider the tiger. It does not growl while it is hunting. Its power lies in its absolute stillness and its focused intent before it finally strikes. The tiger's silence is its greatest weapon. By the time the prey hears the sound, the hunt is already over. Power is most effective when hidden. Your silence is your shield. It prevents others from finding your weaknesses and protects your inner peace from the storms of the external world's drama. In the game of life, the one who is most patient is the one who usually wins. Silence is the ultimate expression of tactical patience today. This is high-level emotional intelligence. It is the mastery of the self, which is the necessary prerequisite for the mastery of any other human being. The great masters of history were not the loudest voices, but the most profound listeners. They understood that the universe speaks only to the quiet. But how does this philosophy apply to our daily lives? How do we use silence when we are faced with the frustrations of the modern world? Imagine you are stuck in traffic. Someone cuts you off and starts yelling through their window. Most people would yell back, escalating the useless conflict. But the person with real power simply looks at them, remains silent, and continues their journey. They refuse to give their peace away to a stranger. When you don't react, you maintain your internal chemistry. You keep your cortisol levels low and your mind clear, while the other person suffers in anger. Or consider an airport where flights are cancelled. The air is thick with frustration and loud complaints as people crowd around the airline service counters. She is the most powerful person in that terminal. Why? Because she is the only one who is not a slave to the current unfortunate situation. Power is the ability to choose your own state of mind. If the outside world can make you angry, then the outside world owns you completely. Silence is the knife that cuts the puppet strings. It is the declaration that you are the master of your own internal kingdom. No matter what, you can move through the storms of life without getting wet. You can observe the chaos without becoming part of it. This is true freedom. In difficult conversations, your silence is a tool for de-escalation. It forces the other person to listen to their own words, which often sound ridiculous. By not defending yourself immediately, you take the wind out of their sails. You aren't playing the game, so they cannot possibly win against you. This isn't about being passive. It's about being incredibly active in your self-regulation. It takes more strength to be quiet than it does to scream. Be like the mountain. Let the clouds of circumstance pass over you. Let the seasons change. Your core remains solid, silent, and absolutely immovable. Even in the digital age, silence is powerful. You don't have to comment on every post. You don't have to reply to every single angry message. So, how can you start practicing this today? There is one simple, incredibly effective tool you can use in almost any situation you encounter. It is called the 3-second rule. It is the practice of inserting a deliberate gap between everything that happens and how you choose to respond. When someone criticizes you or asks a difficult question, don't answer immediately. Wait for 3 full seconds while you breathe and observe your own feelings. In those 3 seconds, you reclaim your power. You give your logic time to catch up with your emotions. You move from instinct to intelligence. Your response will be more measured, more powerful, and much more effective. People will notice the weight and the clarity behind your chosen words. This pause is where your freedom lives. It is the space where you decide who you are going to be in this specific, challenging moment. Practice silence in small ways. Spend 10 minutes a day without any noise, no music, no podcasts, no talking, just sitting with your own thoughts. At first, the silence might feel uncomfortable or even scary, but as you stay with it, you will find a source of strength you never knew existed. Think of silence as a way to recharge your internal battery. Every word you don't say is energy you save for something that actually matters. You will start to see the world differently. You will see the desperation in the noise and the beauty in the quiet moments that others ignore. Your silence will make you a pillar of strength for others. People are drawn to those who are calm in a crisis, recognizing them as leaders. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your presence alone is enough to influence the environment around you in a positive and meaningful way. Silence is the master key that unlocks the door to self-mastery. Once you own your silence, you own your life in a whole new way. The loudest voice is easily ignored. But the well-timed word from a silent person can change the course of an entire company or a life. As we reach the end of our journey, remember that silence is not a destination, but a way of moving through the world with grace. True power is quiet. It is the ability to stand in the middle of the noise and remain completely untouched by the external world's pressure. These individuals have discovered that the less they say, the more they are heard. Their silence has become their most influential and respected attribute. They have learned that power doesn't come from external validation, but from the internal peace that only silence can provide to the human soul. Do not fear the quiet. Embrace it, let it teach you, let it heal you, and let it build the real power that lies dormant within. You are more than the words you speak. You are the consciousness that chooses those words. You are the master of the silence between them. Start today. Take that 3-second pause. Watch how the world changes when you stop trying to control it and start controlling your own reactions. One small act of silence can ripple through your entire life, bringing clarity, strength, and a profound sense of authority to everything you do today. The universe itself is born from silence. It is the foundation of all creation and the ultimate source of all power in the entire world. Thank you for choosing silence with us today. Remember, your real power is waiting in the quiet spaces you create for yourself. Peace be with you.